The girl was 19. Her baby sister, swaddled in coarse linen, was not yet 2. They stood barefoot on the splintered stage behind the livery house, faces turned to the sun as if it might blind them from the truth. Dust choked the town of Gannett's Hollow that summer. Dry winds scoured the hills. Trees died standing up. Men with spurs and hollow cheeks gathered where the sheriff's voice rang out, announcing the auction like it were any other trade: horses, tack, cattle. But it was children. They'd come from a burned-out homestead east of the canyon rim. The girl's name was Mercy. Her sister's name was Lark. Their mother had died in the fire. Their father had hung 2 weeks later after someone found the still under the barn floor. Nobody spoke much of what really happened, or why a family burned alive in the first place. Folks in Gannett's Hollow liked things simple. Lawless things scrubbed clean with rope and heat and God's silence. Mercy stood stiff as a stake when they put her up first. Her brown dress clung to her bones, faded and ash-stained. Her eyes met the crowd once, fast as a flinch. Then she looked down. "No kin claim 'em," the sheriff said. "Girl's strong enough for laundry, cookin', maybe milkin'. Baby ain't yet weaned, but comes with the girl." No one moved, then a chuckle from the crowd. Someone spit. Someone else said something low about taking the baby off her hands. That got more laughter. Mercy gripped Lark tighter. The sheriff's voice wavered for the first time. "Startin' at $2. Still no movement. A wind kicked grit up into Mercy's eyes. She didn't blink. A boot scraped. Then a voice, quiet, dry as tinder. "I'll take 'em." Heads turned. A man stood near the back. Hat low, coat dusty, horse tied a ways off. He had the look of a drifter, one of those dirt-quiet men who came down from the mesa trails twice a year to trade hides and ride on. No one knew his name. Most forgot he was there. The sheriff squinted. "Didn't catch that. I said I'll take 'em, both. $2. The man nodded once. A woman muttered something sharp behind her hand. A storekeeper lined to his wife. "Don't know if that one even talks half the time." The sheriff shrugged and marked it down. "All right, done, you got him." Mercy didn't move until the man stepped up to the stage. He looked at her like he wasn't expecting anything back. He reached out, not to take the baby, but to offer his hand. She took it wary, the weight of Lark pressed between them like a question still waiting for an answer. They walked out of town without another word. No one followed. They walked until the sky bruised purple behind the hills. The man said nothing. Mercy didn't ask where they were going. She followed because there was nowhere else to go. His horse was lean and scarred, slow-footed but sure. When Lark began to fuss, he stopped without a word, lifted the girl into the saddle, and let her ride with the baby in her lap. He walked beside them, long strides quiet in the sand. By nightfall they reached a cabin, low, half dug into the earth, with a sod roof and smoke scars around the flue. It sat on a bluff west of the canyon, where the wind was a little less cruel and the land folded into hollows thick with juniper and rabbit brush. The man built a fire. Mercy rocked Lark on her hip and watched him move. He didn't ask her name, didn't tell her his, just pointed to a bedroll near the hearth and said, "You sleep there." She nodded. Lark whimpered. He glanced over. "There's goat milk on the shelf, pot's warm." That was all. In the days that followed, they settled into something shapeless but steady. The man left early, returned with meat slung over his shoulder, sometimes with pelts, sometimes bleeding. He carved hides on the porch. Mercy fetched water from the stream that wound through a stand of aspen a mile down. She scrubbed their clothes with lye and sand until her knuckles cracked. Lark took to the quiet. She played with bones and twigs, dragged them across the dirt floor while Mercy cooked or cleaned or watched the horizon. The man kept to himself. He didn't pray, didn't drink, didn't strike her when she burned the stew. Just looked at her like he saw through to something she didn't know was showing. Winter was early that year. The wind turned mean in October. Mercy patched the cabin walls with old sacking and moss. She made clothes for Lark from scraps and hide. Her fingers stayed red, raw, always cold. One morning she woke to find the man sitting at the edge of the bedroll, sharpening a knife. The fire had gone out. Lark was asleep, curled like a pup beside her. He looked up. "There's men coming." She sat up straight. "What kind?" "The kind that don't ask." Her throat tightened. "For me." He nodded. "From town." "No, trail men. Heard there was an orphan girl went cheap." Her stomach turned. "What'll you do?" He sheathed the knife, stood, and pulled a rifle from above the mantel. "I'll handle it." She wrapped Lark tighter, teeth clenching. "You don't know me." He glanced at her. "Don't have to." Then he was gone, footsteps vanishing into the dark. That night gunfire cracked across the canyon rim. Brief, distant, like thunder splitting stone. Mercy didn't sleep. She sat beside the fire with Lark against her chest, listening for hooves, for footsteps, for screams. None came. At dawn the man returned, blood on his sleeve, a nick above his brow. Nothing said. He dropped a revolver on the table. "Yours now." She stared at it. "You'll need it." Then he lit the stove, poured water for tea, and said no more. Something changed in her then, not trust, not yet, but a small tether between silence and survival, a line drawn in the dirt. A girl and a baby and a man who didn't ask questions, only killed those who did. And so the days bled on. The revolver was too heavy for her hand. Mercy practiced anyway. When Lark napped, she slipped outside and pointed it at fence posts, at shadows, at the ridge where the gunfire had come from. She missed more than she hit. The recoil split her wrist open once. She kept going. The man watched but never corrected, just nodded when her aim steadied, when her shoulders squared. He showed her how to clean it, how to load without looking, how to listen before drawing. It wasn't about fighting, he said. It was about finishing. She learned how to skin a rabbit, to trap hare with wire and old carrots. Lark toddled in the dirt while Mercy strung up pelts to dry, blood stiffening her fingers each night. Sometimes they heard riders in the distance. Once a pair stopped at the stream. The man sent Mercy into the crawlspace beneath the floor, Lark in her arms. She lay there breathing dust while boots passed overhead. One man pissed on the porch. The other asked if the place was empty. The man's voice, low and steady, answered, "Not empty, not welcoming." They rode off after that. Snow came late that year. Mercy learned to chop wood, to bank the fire so it would last till dawn. She found the line between tenderness and strength when Lark fell sick, how to rock her just right, how to strip wet clothes fast and wrap her in heat. The man brought herbs she didn't know the name of, boiled them into a bitter tea. Lark hated it. Mercy held her jaw until she swallowed. They didn't talk much, but something passed between them in the quiet, a kind of code. The way he'd leave the good cuts of meat for her. The way she folded his shirts even when he didn't ask, small offerings that didn't need thanks. In spring, Lark learned to walk. She wandered out past the fence one morning and got stuck in the mud near the goat pen. Mercy ran after her, heart slamming. She scooped her up just as the man stepped outside. He said nothing, just looked at the baby, then at Mercy. She blurted it out. "I ain't careless." He nodded. "Didn't say you were." "I watch her all the time." "I know." His voice was calm, but it struck something in her. Tears sprang up, unbidden. She turned away fast so he wouldn't see. That night she found a pair of boots by the hearth, not hers. Not his, small leather, stitched careful. When she looked at him, he only said, "Found 'em in town, thought she might need 'em." Lark wore them till her toes split the seams. That summer, They went to the high trails to trap. Mercy carried the rifle now, slung across her back. Lark rode in a sling, wide-eyed and solemn, watching birds and deer and the curve of hawks overhead. The man pointed out tracks. Mercy listened. He showed her where the deer would water, where the bobcats marked trees. She began to move quieter. Her steps matched his. They walked side by side. One night, camped near a rock overhang, she asked the question she'd swallowed since that first day. "Why'd you take us?" He stared into the fire a long time. Then, because nobody else did. "That all?" He looked at her then, not like a child, not like a burden, just honest. "I lost a sister once, too young." Too much silence. Mercy didn't answer, but she watched the fire burn down, and in the quiet that followed she felt something shift, like a knot loosening in her chest. She still didn't trust the world, but maybe she could trust him. And that was enough for now. When fall returned, it came hard. Rains swept the canyon and turned the trails to muck. Trees snapped under the weight of wind. The goats bleated louder, more restless. Something had shifted in the land, and it carried into the house. The man grew more watchful. He sat on the porch long after dark, rifle across his lap, hat pulled low. Mercy watched him through the warped glass. He didn't speak of it, but she knew trouble was coming. Then one morning a letter arrived. Mercy found it nailed to the fence post. No stamp, no envelope, just a folded scrap creased and spotted with blood. She read it twice before she took it inside. He didn't ask how it came, just unfolded it slow, scanned the words, then burned it in the fire. She asked, what was it? His voice was flat. "A warning." "From who?" "Men I used to ride with." The look in his eyes stopped her from asking more. She sat quiet as the ash curled and blackened. 3 nights later, she woke to shouting. Outside, 2 men circled the house on horseback, torches in hand. Lark cried from the bedroll, wailing high and thin. The man had already moved, rifle slung, boots on. He met Mercy at the door. "Take her, back crawl space." "Don't come out." "No." He looked at her hard, not asking. She shook her head. "You can't fight M alone." "I've done worse." "I won't hide." His jaw tightened. For a second it seemed like he might say more, then he nodded once. "You watch the back. If they get close, shoot to kill." She took the revolver and Lark. Her hands shook only once, then went still. The fight didn't last long. The first man came through the side window. Mercy shot him in the chest. He fell with a sound like a kicked hog. The second made it to the porch, where the man waited with his knife. No gun, just steel. Afterward, Mercy stood in the yard barefoot, Lark pressed to her hip, staring down at the bodies. Her face was smeared with blood, some hers, some not. Her braid was half undone. The man leaned against the post, breathing hard. "They'll send more," he said. Mercy didn't flinch. "Then we kill more." He looked at her. The moon caught the edge of his cheekbone, the line of old scars along his wrist. For the first time, he smiled, not wide, just enough to break the line of grief that had lived on his face for years. They buried the bodies in the gully behind the goat shed. That winter, Mercy started wearing a knife on her belt, not because he told her to, because it felt right, because the girl who once stood barefoot on an auction block was gone. What remained was leaner, sharper, watching. By the time Lark could speak full sentences, she had already learned to track deer by hoof marks and how to gut a fish without flinching. Mercy taught her things slow, with patience forged in fire and frost. The man, she'd begun to call him Boone, quietly, after hearing it once muttered by a trapper at the trading post, taught her other things. How to listen for lies, how to make a fire with no smoke, how to vanish into the land. They didn't go into town much, maybe twice a year, for salt and light and news. Mercy kept her head down when they did, one hand always on Lark's shoulder, the other on the grip of her gun. The first time they saw a wanted poster with Boone's face on it, Mercy didn't say a word. She tore it down after dark and burned it behind the shed. The fire caught fast. She watched the paper blacken, her mouth tight. It didn't scare her. It confirmed what she already knew. Boone had done things, had run from things, same as her. But secrets were just a different kind of scar. You carried them or you let them rot you. Boone never asked what she remembered of the fire that killed her family. Mercy never volunteered it. But some nights when Lark was asleep and the coals burned low, he'd talk about the war. Not in full, never in names or dates, just pieces. A town burned by mistake. A brother bled out in the snow. A woman who'd waited too long, then stopped waiting. One night, after a long silence, Boone said, "You know they'll never stop coming." Mercy nodded. "I don't expect they will." "You got a choice." "I already made it." He looked at her a long time. "You're not a girl anymore." "No," she said, "I'm not." It wasn't pride in her voice, just truth. By spring, the land was greener than it had been in years. Flowers pushed up through the hard clay. The goats birthed twins. Mercy started building a smokehouse. Boone made her a new holster, better fitted, carved with a pine needle pattern. Then word came, a man from the southern pass asking for Boone by name. Said he had a debt to collect. Said he'd bring friends. Mercy didn't ask what the debt was, didn't care. She started stockpiling bullets, buried 2 pistols near the creek crossing, taught Lark where to hide, how to stay still even when scared. Boone watched her prepare. He didn't stop her. The night before the storm hit, Mercy stood on the cabin roof hammering down the last of the reinforcements. Boone came out, arms crossed. "You know you could still run," he said. "I ran once," she replied. "Didn't like who I became." "You're not afraid." She glanced down at him, hair plastered to her face with sweat. "I'm ready." The first shot rang out before dawn, not at the cabin, at the fence. A warning. Mercy rolled from bed, boots already on, coat in her hand. Boone met her by the doorway. There were 5 of them, maybe 6, all mounted, faces wrapped, guns drawn. Boone stepped out first, no rifle, just his hands raised. Mercy moved through the back window like smoke, circled wide. She never killed a man face to face before. The one she dropped at the edge of the garden never even saw her, just grunted once and fell, then everything cracked open. Gunfire tore through the fence line, goats scattered. Lark screamed from the crawl space. Boone took a hit in the shoulder but kept shooting. Mercy didn't stop. Her world narrowed to the hiss of powder, the weight of her revolver, the way blood sprayed warm across her cheek. When it was done, 3 men lay dead. 2 crawled away into the scrub, bleeding and cursing. Boone knelt by the porch, holding his side. Mercy went to him, tore strips from her shirt, packed the wound. He coughed, then smiled through blood. "Didn't think you'd get the one behind the cart." "Then you don't know me like you think," she said. He laughed, a dry, pained sound, then went quiet. Lark ran to them. Mercy caught her with one arm, pulled her close. The smell of gunpowder hung thick in the air. The sun rose slow, lighting the ruin. No lawmen came, no neighbors, no justice beyond what they made themselves. Mercy buried the bodies deeper this time, planted thorn bushes over the graves. Boone healed slow. Mercy hunted while he recovered. Lark started drawing things, knives, wolves, fire, and the silence that followed was not peace but something close to it, a kind of space to breathe between storms. The cabin stood, scarred but upright. Mercy rebuilt what she could, patched the holes in the door, replaced the broken rafters. Lark followed her everywhere now, asking questions, mimicking her gait, gripping a stick like it was a rifle. Mercy never discouraged it. The world didn't give girls like them the luxury of softness. Boone limped for weeks, favoring his left side. The bullet hadn't gone clean through. She dug it out herself with a rusted knife and grit between her teeth. He hadn't made a sound. When he was strong enough, he taught Mercy how to read a blood trail even after rain, how to set bone with splints made from ashwood. In return, she taught Lark to tie knots and gut trout and shoot straight with a short-barrel pistol they called the Little Roar. Trouble quieted but didn't vanish. A trader named Jonah rode up in late July, dust-caked and trembling. He didn't get off his horse, just tossed a parcel and rode out again. Inside was a map, a handful of silver coins, and a torn corner of parchment marked with Boone's name, and below it Mercy's, not her full name. Just enough to sting, she showed it to him without a word. He ran a hand down his jaw. They're looking higher now, not just for me. Who gave them my name? He didn't answer right away. I told a man once, he said finally, that I'd taken in a girl with fire in her. Might have bragged too loud. Mercy folded the map and set it in the fire. Then we make them regret ever looking. Boone didn't smile, but his eyes hardened. They'll come in groups, better armed, with names. Maybe badges. Mercy nodded. They won't leave with either. So they prepared again, not like before, deeper this time. Mercy started caching weapons in hollow logs, digging trenches near the tree line. She mapped the ridge with her own hand, marking lines of sight, choke points, blind corners. She trained Lark harder, too. The girl was barely 7, but fast, sharp-eyed. Fierce in the way feral things are when they've only ever known the edges of safety. Boone made her a sling for carrying rounds. Mercy braided her hair tighter, cleaner. The braid had become something sacred, like a tether to the girl she used to be and the woman she had to become. Then one night Mercy spotted a campfire in the hills. Too far for a casual traveler, too still. They didn't wait for daylight. She left Lark with Boone and went alone, crawling low through scrub and sagebrush. When she reached the ridge, she saw 4 men, 2 sleeping, one cleaning his rifle, one pacing. She didn't kill them, she listened, and what she heard burned cold. They weren't just bounty hunters, they were hired, someone from the east. Someone who had bought land rights to the canyon and didn't want squatters. Especially not the kind who killed men and taught little girls to shoot. She slipped back before dawn. Boone waited on the porch. Lark slept beside the fire. Mercy stood in the doorway, dust on her cheek, wind in her braid. "We're not running," she said. "No," Boone said, "we're not." But this time it wouldn't be just a skirmish. It would be war. And Mercy, once sold for $2 on a splintered stage, now stood ready to command it. The day they came, the sky was white with heat. No wind, no sound, just the hush that settles before something breaks. Mercy rose early. Buckled her knife, checked her pistol, braided Lark's hair tight, kissed her forehead once. Boone loaded his rifle in silence. No speeches, no promises. They hid Lark in the old root cellar, deep enough she wouldn't hear the first screams. Mercy gave her a small knife and a rule: don't come out until it's quiet or until Boone calls you by name. Lark didn't cry, just nodded, her little face stone-hard, eyes burning. By noon, the riders crested the bluff, 8 in all. Fresh coats, fine horses. One wore a badge, another had papers. The one in front, sharp-bearded and pale, spoke first. "You're squatting on land owned by the Wilcox Trust. I'm here to see you off." Boone stepped forward. "Ain't nobody here trespassing. We made this ground ours by blood." The man laughed. "Then I'll bury you in it." Mercy was already moving. They rigged the ridge with traps, snares, wire, pit hollows covered with sage. The first 2 horses fell screaming, the others scattered. Boone opened fire from the porch. Mercy circled wide, rifle across her back, 2 pistols on her hips. The first shot dropped a man where he stood. She moved like a ghost through dribbrush and rock, picking them off one by one. No words, no mercy. Her heart beat steady. Her blood stayed cold. Boone covered the south edge, where the badgeman tried to flank. He took a hit to the thigh, went down cursing, gun still firing. Mercy doubled back, found Boone bleeding, face pale. She knelt beside him, shot the last man over his shoulder without looking. He grinned at that. Taught you well. She pressed cloth to the wound. You stay awake, you don't get to leave now. I already left, years ago. Found something worth staying for. You, her. His hand twitched, then went still. She screamed once into the dirt, then rose and finished the fight. By dusk, the clearing was quiet. She buried Boone beside the aspen, where the light hit soft and the wind smelled like pine. She marked the grave with his knife, driven deep into the soil. Then she opened the cellar. Lark blinked up at her, eyes wide. "Is it over?" she whispered. Mercy nodded, for now. She didn't cry, neither of them did. That night Mercy sat on the porch, Boone's rifle in her lap, Lark beside her, legs swinging over the edge. Fire crackled behind them. Coyotes howled far off, cautious. Mercy watched the stars rise. There would be more men, more paper, more reasons for someone to come and take what wasn't theirs. But they'd find something waiting. Not a girl, not a squatter. A name passed in whispers. The girl who walked off the auction block with a baby and a stranger and made the world fear her. The girl who built her vengeance not with fire but with roots. Mercy, hunter, widow of the quiet war. And beside her, growing stronger every year, the little sister no man would ever touch again.